Hello everyone, coming at you today with a very requested review. The coveted, the hyped, the one, the only, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. Yes, today is the day that I'm finally reviewing this. I've had this for a couple weeks now, and so I feel like I can give you a pretty solid review of at least my opinions on everything. If you have not heard about this palette, you must be new to the beauty community here on YouTube. Hey, hi, hello, how are ya? Welcome. I say this all in jest. But seriously, this palette is so hyped and so talked about on YouTube, on the online beauty community, everything. People are going bananas over this palette, and so I felt like, you know, I need to see what this is all about. I personally had never tried anything, at least like, okay. I had tried things from Anastasia before. I've tried their brow gel and their brow wax, both of which were very good products, but I had never touched even any of their highlighters, their eyeshadows, their any products, nothing. Also a lie, I tried out one of their liquid lipsticks recently, and by recently, this was quite a long time ago. So I guess I hadn't touched or tried any of their powder products. So I feel bad, you know, I can't give you guys a comparison in that sense with this palette compared to other palettes of theirs. Anastasia, I feel like, comes out with lots of limited edition type eyeshadow palettes, and those seem to usually be in the upper 20s price tag range. This one is $42, but it is not limited edition, so this is a part of their permanent collection, and I can absolutely see why they made this a part of their permanent line. This palette, you guys, the hype is real, it really is. This is a beautiful eyeshadow palette in so many different ways. The eyeshadows are buttery, they are pigmented, they are super blendable, and they are extra long lasting on the lids. I mean, I feel like whenever you've seen me wearing this in like a first impression review type video, at the very end of the night, my eyeshadow looks banging, or at least just as good as it did when I first put it on in the morning. These eyeshadows really are extra long lasting. Granted, I do wear a primer underneath them because I have extra oily just skin in general, so I always have to wear a primer under eyeshadows and stuff. But even when I do wear a primer, sometimes my shadows, they'll fade a little bit throughout the day, or they'll get like the easiest bit creasy if the eyeshadows just aren't very good. But these, no problems there. I don't know why, but I was putting off showing you the beautiful shadows in this palette. They really are a gorgeous array of colors. This is very much a warm eyeshadow palette, so if you don't like warm colors on you, you're gonna hate this. Every single shadow in here is warm toned, even the warm taupe color. I mean, it even says it's warm, but like if you just single that one out, it is a bit like more on the cooler side of warm, but every color in here is in the warm spectrum. It's also very heavily a matte eyeshadow palette, but they do have, you know, some metallics here. They've got like some kind of more satin metallic, I don't know if that's what you would call it, or like a satin shimmer. Also tempera, they claim that this is an ultra matte shade. I don't know what they're talking about. It's got like a satin sheen to it, so. But you get 14 different shades here, and they're beautiful. I mean, lots of orangey browns, and then also the pink berries. Now, in comparison to the single eyeshadows from Anastasia, in the palette, each one of the shadows is 0.02 ounces, and then their eyeshadow singles, which are $12 a piece, are 0.059 ounces. So I don't know exactly how the value all ties together. If I'm feeling super mathematical, I will put it on the screen here, but I definitely feel like you get value in this palette. I mean, for me, when I look at it, I think of how does this compare to like an Urban Decay Naked palette, which those come with what, 12 shadows, and those are $54. Those palettes, you know, they started off as $50 and then they went up to $52 and now they're $54. Urban Decay, come on now. I don't know how the size of the pans and everything differ, but that's kind of, you know, how I like to see things, or like compared to the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, you know, it's a palette. Do I feel there's value? And for 42 bucks, in comparison to those types of palettes that you can get at Sephora and whatnot, I feel like this is a great value. The shadows, there's not one dud in here. These are all beautiful. They're all blendable. They're all blendable. They're all blendable, and they all work together really well. Like, you can come up with some really, really pretty eyeshadow looks. Anything from like super neutral, like what I've got on my eyes today. You can go super smoky, super deep, and just lots of different options here. The shadows are all mostly super duper buttery. The one I'm thinking Love Letter, that one is a bit different. It's still really soft and very satiny feeling, but it's not the same kind of like crumbly butter that a lot of the other shadows are. So if you have a really heavy hand with your shadows and whatnot, you're gonna need to go soft. You're gonna need, you know, gentle, like you tell a little kid when they're trying to pet a cat and they're actually like strangling the cat. So gentle, gentle. You have to be gentle with these because they are almost buttery to a fault, especially shades like the Cypress Umber in here and even Venetian Red. They can get a bit crumbly, you know, but you can absolutely work with it. Like, it's really not that big of a deal, just especially with those shades, you know, once you dip your brush in it, just tap it off and you're good to go. This whole palette was supposedly inspired by the Renaissance, hence the Modern Renaissance palette title here. You know, if you look back at like the very classic Italian Renaissance artists, I'm talking like Michelangelo, Raphael, Da Vinci, even like Caravaggio. I personally really think of Caravaggio when I look at this palette, just like those really rich, warm orange tones that were very, very heavily used in that time period of the art scene. I think this palette was definitely very appropriately named, and I think it could work on so many different people because, like I said, the shadows that are included in here are very versatile. You know, there are some that's kind of like, those are really similar and I wish you could have included a different shade, especially with like raw sienna and burnt orange. Like, they're different colors, but I almost would have rather, like, maybe instead of the burnt orange, gotten like a matte cream shade. That's just me personally, because I like to use those kind of shades like between the crease and my brow bone and everything. But, you know, that's just me being very nitpicky because really the shadow range is very, very good. And like Venetian Red and Love Letter look kind of similar in the pan here, but the finishes are very different and the color actually is very different once it is swatched out and everything. So not only is the palette, you know, like the colors are centered around being inspired by the Renaissance period, but they're also named that way. So for a lot of people that are not, you know, they didn't get their master's in fine art like I did. Like, they probably don't know a lot of these terms and stuff, which is totally fine. But things like Realgar, that one, if you want to look it up for yourself, it's a red-orange mineral that was used in a lot of paints. Stuff like the ochres, like the golden ochre and red ochre are very common pigments as well used in paints. Vermeer was a painter. I don't know if the color necessarily, like what that has to do with anything, but maybe it's a play on his very famous painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earring. Beautiful painting, actually a very good book as well. So I don't know if that was supposed to like symbolize the pearl or something. Tempera, again, I don't know that it really corresponds to the color here or anything, but it's a fast drying paint medium that was used a lot during that time. And then something like buon fresco, that's, you know, I'm sure maybe you've heard of fresco paintings, but the buon fresco technique is when the paints and stuff are applied to wet plaster as opposed to fresco, like traditional fresco, I guess. It wasn't supposed to like flake off or anything, like as opposed to when you would just do it on dried plaster. So, you know, just different painting techniques and everything. So this like tickles my painting side. Just like seeing the different names and stuff. Like I said, does it really correlate to the actual color in here? I mean, some of them, yes, but some of them, no. Also, the palette does come with a brush. It's an okay brush. Like, I don't like this one end, the like supposedly fluffy end. The bristles are really kind of like thick and stiff and pokey. They are kind of sticking out all over the place. Like, they're not evenly in there, so I don't like that end of the brush. The other end of the brush is very soft. It's very nice and densely packed, so I do appreciate that end of the brush, but overall, you know, I don't typically ever buy palettes for the brush, but it is a very nice inclusion when the brush is actually done well, and in this case it was done half well. I just feel like overall, you know, if you don't have many of these kind of colors, or if these are the colors that you really gravitate towards, I think this palette is fantastic. I mean, it's got a nice mirror in there, which I can't get the little sticker off of there, so kind of annoying. The mirror is kind of worthless to me because it's kind of clouded by that, but there is a nice big mirror. It's just a normal like cardboard type package, but it's got the really nice blush velvet all over. And surprisingly enough, mine hasn't gotten dirty at all, which I thought this was going to be a dirt magnet, but mine has stayed very clean. It's got the very nice magnetic closure. Let's do it again. So that's just delightful. You know, on the back of the palette, it says that these shadows are only good for 6 months. Are you kidding me? So I don't know, I guess I'll have to wait and see how long these end up lasting. If it's only 6 months though, like that's horrible. And is that good quality for the money? Not in my opinion, but I'm also not big on expiration dates for most of my makeup. If it doesn't look gross, if it doesn't smell gross, if it doesn't feel gross, I don't see a problem in continuing using it. I mean, obviously if you use a product, even if none of those things apply, and you put it on your face and you get a huge rash all of a sudden, like get rid of it, you know, it's old. So unless this starts like growing mold or something, I will probably continue using it past the 6 months expiration on here, but that is definitely something to note. Anastasia is also a cruelty-free brand, so that's great. Like just lots of good things with this palette, and I definitely think it is a welcome addition to many people's collections, you know? Like I feel like not many palettes look like this one, and I just think this is a beaut. So like I have done in previous eyeshadow review videos, I've got a few little mini tutorials to add in at the end here. I'm glad you guys liked those and found those helpful. I've got some more smoky looks, and I've got some more like everyday looks like this one. So hopefully there's something in there that might be helpful in seeing, you know, some different ways you can use this palette. And then also, of course, I've got the swatches coming up here, but you know, I think it's kind of worthless for me to be like speaking and being like, so warm taupe is a warm taupe color. Ooh, look at it being all warm and taupey. So I'm just gonna have, you know, some music playing for you guys, and you can watch that if you feel like it. I think that minor choke there is my sign that I should probably go. This review is long enough. I hope it was helpful and or enjoyable for you. If it was, please do go ahead and give me a thumbs up down below. Also, since doing my last live chat a few days ago here, there is a bit of a debate going on. People, you know, not everybody wants to be like labeled as something, I understand, but a lot of people want to be called something, my viewers. So there's a bit of a debate going on, what people want to be called, if anything at all. So on my Twitter, I do have a poll open if you want to go ahead and vote on there. It's not like I'm gonna be, you know, all the time calling you guys something or anything. I just think people like having that for like a community feel, which I totally understand. So yeah, if you are new here, I would love having you as a part of my little family here on YouTube. You can definitely go ahead and subscribe down below if you want to see more content from me in the future. You can also follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all those good things. Instagram especially, if you want to see that little booger up there a bunch. Like I said, I just hope you enjoyed the video. As always, I hope you guys are all doing well, and until next time, just stay well until then. Bye!